And we move to start question number 3. Chief Minister, please.
So, reply to start question Start question 3. Sir, the total length of boundary shared between Meghalaya and Assam is 884.24 kilometers. B, sir, a statement is placed on the table of the House.
Thank you very much, sir, for the exhaustive statement placed on the table of the House. But I've gone through the statement, sir, and I have seen it that most of the incidents are very recent. So, in this situation, may I know from the Honorable Chief Minister whether it would be fair to construe that the boundary between Meghalaya and Assam was already considered, settled, and defined when the then first government of the new formed state of Meghalaya had accepted both the Assam Reorganization Meghalaya Act 1969 and the Northeastern Areas Reorganization Act 1971.
Sir, I think the matter of dispute has already been very, very clearly stated by not just this government, but even the past governments. And therefore, these kind of complications are coming out. And we are also in talks with our counterparts in Assam to find a solution to this issue. But sir, the dispute still remains in 12 locations that have been, which I think the Honorable Member also knows, sir.
Sir, if that is the case, then was this dispute is right from the day one of the new formed state?
Yes, sir.
Sir, may I know then from the Honorable Minister, what are the 12 areas of differences and the corresponding size of the 12 disputed areas?
So the areas of differences are there. I'll just have to go through. Sir, I don't have the exact information right now with me, but I'll provide it to the Honorable Member, sir, and I can place it on the table of the House, sir.
Then may I know from the Honorable Chief Minister, sir, how many times the two Chief Ministers between Meghalaya and Assam have met to resolve the issues right from the start till date?
So that information I don't have with me right now, sir, but I can provide it to the Honorable Member.
Okay then, sir. Then it will be all right if the information is given in the House, but the information should contain the 12 areas of differences, the size of the disputed areas, and the contention by the Meghalaya government that the land belonged to the Meghalaya, then along with the dates where the meetings were held at the level of Chief Minister, Chief Secretary to resolve the issues, sir.
So I will do that, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Since this is about the boundary, I would like to know from the Honorable Chief Minister, even in Garo Hills, this conflict has started erupting last year only. So may I know in these 12 areas whether the Garo Hills is included or not? Recently last year, when I was in Garo Hills, one of the magistrates was sent to Tikrikila side because the Assam people, they started building their house in that Garo Hills District Council's forest land. So whether in this 12 area, whether the Garo Hills is included or not?
So as I said, the areas of differences, the detailed list is not here with me as of now. So I will be happy to provide it to the honorable member. The list is not with me as of now, and I think at this point in time, I would not, on a sensitive subject like this, I would not want to say something without all the detailed facts with me, sir.
Anyway, by chance if it is not there, I don't feel like it might be there because it was recently erupted last year only. So if it is not there, I would like to request the Honorable Chief Minister to look into the matter seriously because all those Assam people who are encroaching right now, they have started building their house also. So if that can be look into the matter seriously at the earliest, because it has started just recently only, because this boundary issue were not there in Garo Hills. If it is there started, I think if it can be taken seriously. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
So may I know from Honorable Minister, whether it is possible for the doctors, because we knew that as of the fighting of this pandemic, doctors are the front liners. Whether the government will be examined, if possible, doctors should get a separate insurance because as of MHIS, it's not covers for the doctors. If the government examine that doctors should get separate insurance.
So the doctors, government doctors, they are under the medical reimbursements.
Jacob Amprin.
So may I inquire from the Honorable Health Minister whether the PPE kits have been vetted by appropriate authority and who is this authority?
See, this is for the government only, sir.
Beg your pardon, sir?
This is paid by the government only, sir. By the government. Appropriate authority is the government, sir.
Sir, I did not understand.
I said this is the appropriate authority to certify the PPE is the government, sir.
Sir, may I know what is the full form of RT-PCR?
Real-time polymerase chain reactions.
So may I know the procedures of this RT-PCR, because every time when we read all the messages from the Honorable CM or the Deputy CM, we always see the word result awaited. May I know briefly what is this procedure?
It's the testing kit, sir, this one. Procedure is test to a human's body, sir.
I'm not satisfied with that reply, sir.
So
Just to, I'm sure the health minister has all the details of the procedure, but we are also not doctors, so we cannot give the exact detail. But basically, sir, RT-PCR test is a viral test, and the swabs are taken from the nose and the throat. Once these swabs are taken, sir, these are put in the testing system, and it requires anything between 8 hours, 12 hours, sometimes a bit more. So therefore, once the tests are put in, the samples are taken, the period of time that it takes, so we are waiting for the results of those ones. So this, when we say we're waiting results, we are waiting for the ones that are in the process of being testing. So unlike a rapid test, which just requires the blood test and test for antibodies, when the results come out in 15 minutes, the RT-PCR test requires anything between, I mean, I'm not a medical professional, sir, but about 8 to 12 hours plus, sir.
You sound like a doctor.
Oh, sir.
Sir, one more question. So what are the procedures for the transportation of all of these materials to be tested, and what is the protocol requirement? Because we've seen in the newspaper that tampering or compromised situations have arisen from these swabs. So may I know whether the government is following the procedure for transportation of swabs?
obviously, sir, the government have to follow the protocol of transportation of the swabs, sir. Just all the samples, sir.
What is the procedure, sir? Are they following it? Because it's a very, very sensitive required protocol, sir.
Sir, for that one, I require notice. I don't have right now, so the procedures.
Okay, I'll set it.
Mr. Speaker, sir. See, sir, these frontliners who are working in the front line, they are very, very important for us because they are acting like a shield for us. If something goes wrong, they will be the one who will suffer first. So they are doing commendable job, and we should appreciate, we should salute them. But I would like to get clarification from the government or the Chief Minister. In the recent few days, there was a post in Facebook from the CMO and appreciating the youth wing leaders from the NPP, that they are the one who has worked day and night to enable the government to bring the stranded people from outside the Northeast to the state of Meghalaya. Then there has been reaction from the frontline workers. It's not the only those people from the party, it's we who are working day and night, why we are not being appreciated. Then when this kind of reaction was found, they are being threatened to take action by the government through some political party workers. So I would like to know whether it's a fact from the government, because it is very, very important. It will spoil the morale and the enthusiasm of the workers, of the frontliner workers. So it is very, very important and serious. And I was informed that some of the staff, including the doctor, has been relieved from their job. So I would like to get the clarification.
Sir, I didn't think that we would have a political question like this in the middle of health. I think, sir, it's really sad to see.
Yeah, why I am asking this? Why this political issue has come into picture? Because there should not be any politics at this moment when crisis, we are having this kind of crisis.
Let the Chief Minister reply.
Sir, as I said that, sir, I think it really depends on the way an individual looks at this. I think, sir, everybody's here to help. And I think everybody's help needs to be appreciated. Whether it's an individual, whether it's an organization, whether it's a political party, I think everybody is trying to do their best. And I think it is wrong for any one of us to really look at the situation like this and try to say that this is being done politically or not being done politically. I think it's wrong, sir. But having said that, sir, let me also reiterate that there are people who are doing work. And it is the duty of, as a chief minister or any political leader, to appreciate the work that is being done. We have appreciated the work of so many organizations. We have appreciated the work of so many different individuals. If you look at my Facebook post, you will see every day there are 4 or 5 appreciations of different people who are contributing, different people who are working. So I would urge the honorable member that I think this is not the time to look at this in a political sense and really look at the whole society working together to really fight the situation, sir. So I think I don't want to get into this argument, sir. This is not the place also to discuss this issue.
Sir, it is again contradictory statement. Yeah, we need, at this juncture, we need help from every corner, every individual, every organization, be it political party or any other organization. But when, as the Congress party organization, we were extending support in locating different stranded people from different states across the country, why then Honorable Deputy Chief Minister reacted that Congress should not do this work, rather if they are having lots of money, they should give to the government. This kind of reactions, it is contradicting to the statement of the Chief Minister, sir.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir. One is this is question our Honorable Chief Minister has already replied. But second, since he mentioned about my name being the Deputy Chief Minister, I need to clarify.
Yes, yes.
So my clarification is this, sir. I saw the statement in the newspaper that Madam Sonia Gandhi has directed all the state units to go all out, providing assistance for those stranded migrant workers. Number 2, working president of the Congress party, they sent a letter to Chief Minister, Chief Secretary. The letter is like this. I think, let me read it out as I remember myself. The letter says, kindly indicate those migrant workers stranded in Meghalaya, we want to take them back from within Meghalaya, not from outside Meghalaya to bring into Meghalaya. So we get confused. The fight of the state, of the government is right now to bring in stranded students, stranded workers from outside the northeastern states, and then from northeastern states too. So now, since Mr. Zenit Sangma, he mentioned about my name, I said, therefore,
Yes, Mr. Zenit Sangma.
I said Mr. Zenit Sangma.
I don't know who is Mr. Zenit Sangma.
Oh, if you don't know that, yeah. Honorable member from Rangsaigona. Mr. Zenit Sangma, honorable member from Rangsaigona. Therefore, I'm telling you, please don't bring politics here. I talked in the press, I said, we welcome. Be it political party, be it anybody. That's why CM what he did. He appreciated in the Facebook every day, on daily basis, including NPP Youth Wing. Yes, if Congress does also, including Youth Congress, or anybody.
UDP.
So therefore, yes, even UDP, even MDA Alliance. So, sir, let us stop all this. As I said to you, I think we need to stop. And we are fighting right now against the COVID-19. I think it is very sad you bring in these issues in the House instead of proceeding forward with issues which is relating to the state of Meghalaya.
Okay. Yeah. Supplementary question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Supplementary question. Anyway, praises to all the NGOs, frontline workers, and the parties. My question is, Mr. Speaker, a supplementary question. We are dealing with the dreaded disease right now. A few days back, we have seen the PPE and the other equipments which is used by the frontliners. They are dumping their used materials anywhere, where they might never have got a place even to dump also. So I would like to ask the Chief Minister, Minister, whether we are having any incinerator to destroy all the used materials during this fighting of this dreaded COVID-19.
Sir, we have seen, we have been told also that PP have been thrown somewhere near the Saudi area. So the government has sent for the investigation, sir.
No, right now I'm not asking about the throwing. I'm talking about destroying them. How do we destroy? Because if we just throw it anywhere, because since it's a virus, it might spread nearby. So whether we are bringing that incinerator, because right now it is very much needed, not only of this PPE, but any material that is used in the hospital, which is biohazard to any of the neighboring household or maybe the neighboring colonies. So this
That's
incinerator.
part of the protocol which has to be followed. Mandatory, I think. So what is
So
it?
the incinerator is the place for any kind of disposal. We have already done, sir. This is there, sir.
Then I think we have to take a strict measure, because whenever you go to any hospital nearby, you will still see dumping of all those, any used items actually from the hospital. So if that hospital is not sincere enough to, follow the hygiene, I think that hospital superintendent should be taken into some consideration.
So point noted, sir.
Yes, Bahaso.
Yeah, since it's a matter relating to health, I really want also to take part of it. The Honorable Minister stated that there is an incinerator for destroying these thrown away PPE. But as far as my knowledge goes, there is no incinerator in the whole of Shillong except Naigirim, sir. That Minister clarify this.
So we have incinerator in Shillong, and also the new incinerator are being procured in Turasa, and Jowai, Shillong and Jowai and Turasa, in 3 places, 3 districts.
Can you clarify, sir, where in Shillong it is?
This is in Shillong Civil Hospital, sir.
Mr. Speaker, sir.
Sorry, please.
Yeah.
Basun is on the.
Yeah. When was this installed in civil hospital, sir, may I know?
Sir, then that dates I don't remember at present, sir.
Just very recently, we were having a meeting of the Committee on Environment. The Director of Health and I was there, the Commissioner Secretary of Health were there. And we were informed even the incinerator that were installed by the Shillong Municipal Board were not functioning. And all these waste, biological waste, were collected by one organization from Maulai Baki and took it to Guwahati for disposal and treatment. And the only hospital in Shillong that have incinerator is Naigrims. But I'm surprised now to know that the civil hospital has incinerators. So I think we need to find it out the real facts.
So I already replied, we have there in Shillong Civil Hospital one incinerator, sir.
Mr. Speaker, sir, we know that the government will buy this, by chance, even if they buy also, it will buy the incinerator only to the government hospitals. What about the private hospitals? We've got, lots of hospitals, private hospitals in Shillong. So I want the government to give an assurance that they will also direct to adhere to this particular requirement by this hospital.
Sir, this is have made it mandatory that all hospital, whether it is the government hospital or it is a private hospital, it is mandatory to have the incinerator for to dispose it of all the waste materials.
Barakam.
Thank you, sir. So by looking at the climate and atmosphere in the session, it's very much worthy to be COVID-free session, sir, now. Sir, as our Honorable Chief Minister stated, every individual, those who have supported in this crisis, must be received thanks. So even the Priyanka Gandhi sending 1,000 bus to bring migrant. So I'm happy that this government has worked very hard and at a very fast response in this crisis, sir, at a very advanced stage. So because of insufficient of the staff in the medical and the police forces, sir, many staff from the different department has been assigned the responsibility to work on this crisis, sir.
Barakam, what is the question, please?
Sir, I'm coming to the question, sir.
Yeah.
So one of the staff from Bakmara, South Korea, who is in charge from the agriculture department of the mechanical part, who is looking after North Korea Hills, and the East Korea is assigned COVID duty in North Korea Hills. So this is a firming time. This is a firming time because of all this assignment. The power tiller in the South Korea is not ready because the staff has been assigned COVID duty in North Korea Hills. So my question is, because this COVID is going to stay for some more time, therefore, sir, whether at the government as a department, whether we are planning to recruit some more temporary staff for this crisis, or whether any plan is there, sir, I would be happy if the minister could kindly give this answer, sir.
So we are recruiting the additional staff also, sir, manpower in all the districts, sir, for this COVID-19.
Sir, one more request. If all the, by looking at the days of the time of the farming activity, I think all the staff which is required in time, sir, must be relieved from all these duties, sir, if possible. Thank you.
Sir, that I cannot say anything.
Just have a look. Just have a look.
We'll
Let's
note
see.
it down, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, last question. Sir, since we are dealing with the economy of the state, our economy of the state is right now is the health, the more important. So I would like to ask the Honorable Chief Minister to you, Mr. Speaker, sir, those frontliners, the officers, right now, since we are bringing the students from outside the state, but after the examinations, after the testing and everything, when they are not found positive, they are being sent by the officers and they are transporting them in their own car or maybe in their private vehicle. But those officers, those who are taking them to the residential, to the resident or where they are staying, those officers are not wearing any PPE or any safeguard, other materials like that. No, even the driver, even the officers also. So after coming back, they're again staying back with their families. Now the question is this: those those who are having the strong immunity, like we have seen actually in the sofa, one of the, the son-in-law, he shows negative, but yet he was a carrier. By chance, if he's a carrier, then what will happen to these officers? So it's a big challenge right now. So we are not providing the PPE to those drivers also. They are dropping them at night, at any time. So those officers from the non-health sector, they are also involved here. So how do we tackle them right now? I mean, since they have been complaining, actually, I have heard them complaining that we are not given this PPE, even the driver is not given the PPE, but they are giving in the same group, in the same car, so they might get contracted also. So what will happen to them, Mr. Speaker, sir?
So those officers or doctors who are not directly in contact with the positive case, they are not required PPE, sir.
But they can be a carrier actually.
The suspected cases we cannot prove to be positive, that's why, sir.
Balambor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. So we are here discussing the very important subject. Today, sir, numbers of localities, the local Dorbas, they have set up the quarantine center in different localities with the support of the frontline workers. For example, the Anganwadi, the Ashas, the health workers. May I request the Honorable Minister in charge health, why not we set up an incinerator at PHCs, because in my constituency I have PHCs, because there are items that they use and throw. And a few days back, I received a letter from 5 Dorbashnangs requested me to have a discussion with the municipal board how to carry those disposable items. May I request the minister in charge to kindly look into this important point, the incinerator to be installed at PHCs or CHCs. Thank you.
So we welcome the suggestion given by the honorable member, and we have noted down, sir.
Yes. Community.
Chief Minister had informed the House that around 5,000 rupees from the CM's relief fund will be given to the community quarantine centers. So I just want to know from the minister in charge whether any PPE will be given to the community quarantine centers, because a lot of NOGMAs and other who form the committee of the COVID-19 village level committee, they have called and they were asking whether any masks or gloves or anything, any protective equipments will be given to them, because they are not trained also and they don't know any assistance will be given to them from the government.
So for PPE kit, gloves and masks and all, we are giving whenever it is necessary, sir. Wherever necessary.
Balaji, I think. Everybody is closing their mouth so we can't see them properly.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Balaji.
So I'd like to ask the Health Minister as to how many doctors do we have who are serving the state at the moment?
Sir, for that, sir, I don't have right now a required notice.
So, one more question. So, every year, we send students to pursue our MBBS degrees through our state quota, be it general or SC or ST. So, the problem is, some students, when they come back after finishing their medical degree, some serve, some do not serve. And some have paid the bond and some have not yet paid the bond because the minimum service is 5 years. So now my question is, how many MBBS doctors are yet to pay the bond to the government?
Now please confine the supplementary questions to the item in the question. Did you have the answer, Minister?
So this question is not relevant to the principal question, sir.
Principal question.